I think it's been like a week since I made my last video. It's been kind of a hard week for me. Um, it's October 18th, 17th day sober. I've still been smoking CBD, which doesn't really get me high, but if I do enough of it, it does make me good, or not even good, but just a little more zoned out. You know. But for me, that's good right now. Um, I forgot to mention too in some of my other things talking about what was going on that I found the not drinking pretty easy. Um, but the first, I think like 11 days, yeah, like the first, well, no, like 12, the first like maybe 12 or 13 days, like I had cold sweats every night, but they weren't really bothering me. And like I was warm under my blankets or whatever, but like I had cold sweats every night. Um, I'd wake up pretty soaked, and but those kind of stopped a little less than a week ago. This past weekend, before I'd started drinking again, I guess a couple few years ago, um, where I didn't drink for a couple few years at all, pretty much the whole time, I had this terrible ache on this side. When I get stressed, or when just even when I concentrate a lot and like don't kind of just step back, I get this wicked burning on this side of my face. It's kind of like a headache, but it's like right here and here. I also have like this little lump here, and every so often, like sometimes I think it might be Lyme disease. I got a tick bite that I can recall. You know, there was a tick on me, and it made the little ring or whatever afterwards, after I'd pulled it off. But this side of my body gets really weird. Pretty much like this whole piece right here, like my face, my connective tissue, my neck. I just get the weirdest sensations right here, including sometimes this very, very achy. So yeah, the past 3 days, not today, but Friday through Sunday, that was pretty bad, and that made me kind of want to drink. Not because I wanted to drink, but I knew that like if I had a shot of whiskey or rum, it would go away. Like I didn't really like think about it, but I did think, well, maybe when sober October's over, you know, because that I don't want that part of my life to come back. I feel like even though I've been drinking so much over the last several years, like I do feel like I've learned a few things in meditation since then, because I'd still meditate periodically, and I did learn some things even while I was a drunk. And I think those will be useful, and they were useful for like the first week. Um, but then I'm kind of pushing myself a little too much, being like, let's get back to doing shit, you know. But really, it's been a pretty lethargic period. Also, with my arm, update on my arm, it's still just barely a little redder than my other arm, just barely a little more swollen. And when I go like this, there's just a little bit of that lump left. But what's happened since my last recording is basically the pain from that area spread everywhere. Everything got red from here, and at first it only got red to here, but then the redness swelled over my shoulder, like my lymph node right here, all up in here got red, hot. Um, so more surface area got hot, but it wasn't as hot, because before it was like when a cell phone gets hot, it's like hot. Feels like they just pulled it out of the oven. So it was like this part of my arm was like in full blown fever while the rest of me wasn't. That was kind of interesting. But anyway, what it made my arm feel like was kind of like lactic lactic acid buildup if you work out a lot. And so like this part of my arm's been crampy, this part of my arm's been crampy, or just if I put my arm up and down. And actually, yeah, all weekend my shoulder was killing me, mostly my like front deltoid, I think, because for the last couple weeks, instead of using my elbow as much, my wrist has been fine and my shoulder was fine. It's just my elbow I couldn't move much. So I'd lock my elbow and like do everything with my shoulder. Well, like totally burnt out my shoulder. So all weekend, like it's been fucking killing me. But today, well, last several days, I've been, or maybe the last week, I've been trying to do as much as possible with my left hand. And now this is starting to feel better, you know. I did some with my right hand today and it kind of loosened up my shoulder some. Um, but not only that was happening, also like it's almost like the infection has been spread out as my body is trying to absorb it, but it gets in the bloodstream and like, so it's like my whole arm was trying to fight this infection, or at least that's kind of what I figure. I don't know if that's correct or not. Um, the redness stopped right about here. Luckily, my wrist and my hand never got cramped up, but I think in my shoulder, because this whole area ached, kind of like this area had ached, and my deltoid was like super. I don't think it's like my bone or whatever. I think it's just the muscle, but it fucking hurt. Hurt. Wah. I'm a warrior. A warrior who wants to be a warrior. The two do not mix. In other news, I brought this tomato plant. I brought this tomato plant in from outside. The last tomato came off. I have a couple videos with it on my porch, and what happened is like, here's the rest of it, is that being on my porch, which gets very little sunlight, this guy was reaching, trying to reach around the house to get to the sun. So I have two. This is a tomato plant, and this is a tomato plant. They share the same box. So this had one tomato, and this had one tomato. This one came first, and I ate it. This one dropped the other day, and one of the chipmunks ate it. It took them about 3 days, maybe 4, to eat it last week. It was on my front stoop. And it had all the telltale signs. Plus, I've been trying to romance a chipmunk in my front yard. There's a bunch of them that come around, but one in particular. But still very squeamish and skittish, and anyway, I thought this tomato plant was a good metaphor. Because as tomato plants go, it's kind of pathetic. As far as it had one tomato, it don't look so great, scraggly at this point. Of course, it's October, but still, it's so strong and it reaches out so far, and it put everything into this bizarre design to reach further. And like to engineer something like this would be next to impossible, if we were to build like a bridge or something like that, or just about anything out of very simple raw materials, out of cellulose and water. So resilient, so springy, and all this structure built into it. But like a tomato farmer would be like, that's pathetic. They'd pull it out and throw it away. Maybe. Probably. But it speaks to certainly myself, and probably a lot of people, that like it's uniquely suited to be what it is, uniquely suited to its environment. Strange, peculiar, ugly. I think it's beautiful, but ugly as show ponies go. Yet has a one in a million resilience, has a one of a kind shape response to its environment. This one didn't grow out like that. But this one did. That's resilience. And yeah, I guess there's no like deep philosophical point about that, except for it reminds me of me. Like, broken, screwed up, been around, all cockeyed funny. Maybe of a unique strength, of a unique shape, to fulfill a unique purpose. And regardless, reaching. Reaching for the light. In other news, today I found what must be the last Queen Anne's lace wild carrot second year flower. Must be the last one in like 100 miles that hasn't fully gone to seed. It was at work on a job, but it's like, everything's excavated, the dirt's pulled up. I'm thinking this one was probably clipped like right when it was beginning to go to flower initially, back when the lawn was still the lawn. Maybe, I don't know. Now it's all dug up, because this one should be bigger, even though it's about waist high. Get this out of the way. Whoa. Don't hit the stop button. Ugh. There we go. Alright, so this, it goes all the way to the bottom. I pulled it up by the roots. This is all one wild carrot plant. Except for there's some grass down toward the bottom, because like it pulled up a bunch of grass with the roots. But like all these flowers are from one Queen Anne's lace. All these flowers are from one carrot. So for the pieces of it, and what's nice about this is it has it all. It has some that are going to seed, it has some that are still flowers, it has some that have gone to seed, it has some clean ones, it has some that have used the ball that it turns into. A lot of bugs use those for like nests. But anyway, I was lazy this year about clipping flowers. So tonight when I'm done this, I'm gonna clip all my flowers and save those so I can make tea out of them for a little while. I'm sure I won't get through the whole winter, but it's very soothing, calming tea, the flower. Hopefully, as long as it hasn't gone too piney yet. It would have been better to get nice big ones, nice big Queen Anne's lace flowers like earlier when they first go to flower. Excuse me, earlier in the year before the whole plant turns more piney. This is the Christmas tree. Make no mistake. Have no doubt about it. This is the Christmas tree. Not this particular Queen Anne's lace. It is the Christmas tree. It always has been. So that's pretty exciting. And of course, some of the ones that have curled up, bigger plants exhibit it better. Ones with bigger flowers. But this is essentially the bird's nest. Because it's like a little nest. When it first starts going to seed, it looks more like a nest. Some of them, the way they close up, they look more like a nest. Well, like, forever it was known as bird's nest, presumably before it was known as Queen Anne's lace. I don't know what it would have been known as 1,000 years ago, but some version of bird's nest. Also, the seeds have been used as birth control for a long while. That's connected with a lot of stuff. It's one of the secrets that the women folk kept. That way, when another young little woman folk came and said, something happened to me, not, and it weren't their fault. The other one, and she's like, I can't show or they're gonna kill me, even though it wasn't her fault in the first place. The other woman would be like, come with us, we'll take care of it. Because the girl who's here already, the 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl who's here already, you can't throw her away to save the next. You can't. And if you make abortion illegal, that's what happens. You throw away the one that's already here. In many cases. When Mr. Uncle or family friend does something he's not supposed to. And he don't want the girl to show. So she ends up somewhere on the back 40, It's been that way. It's still that way. But you save the ones that are here. First. one 12 or 13-year-old girl already here is worth more than a basket of fetuses. Little ones. I'm not talking, you know, babies ripped from the womb. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is protect the 12 or 13-year-old girl, man. Never mind upwards from there. Because if you reverse that, daughters end up in ditches. I'm not saying it's always going to be that way, but it's been that way, and it's still that way. Not that I'm some kind of champion for this cause or that cause, but I don't even know why I'm talking about it. In other news,